Now I'll show you a very simple exercise for creating a graphical logo design which uses the concept of repeated rotation. Okay, so I'll just make a ellipse tool. So I'll make a circular shape here. I'm going to go to the pen tool and make a razor blade like shape. So I'm going to click here, making a razor blade like shape. The use of pen tool is exactly as that of what we would do in Photoshop. The pen tool is going to create Bezier curves. The curves are going to be based on tangents. So it's the same process. But because I'm doing this in Illustrator, you need to realize that that's one object, that's another object. Okay. Now, logo design in Illustrator is extremely easy by the formation of circular rotation, angular rotation. You can quickly create shapes that utilizes the same pattern, especially your, let's say, symmetrical pattern, right? So for the sake of explanation, let me rather switch to a bit simpler shape here. Okay, so I'll just draw maybe a pointed oval shape. So do something like that. I'm using the first vertex point, shifting the vertex point, and I'll exclude the tangent to make it pointed. Okay. So once that is done, if I want this same shape to be replicated around this circular shape, considering that's the center, you can use a dedicated tool called rotation tool. And if I use that rotation tool, it's right here, rotate tool R. You get this small fulcrum point notation. You can shift that fulcrum point by pressing Alt on the keyboard and dragging the fulcrum point. So the fulcrum point is basically the axis for rotation, right? So I'm shifting the axis of rotation to the center of the circle below, and I'm going to just pass the rotation angle as 60 degrees. So if you want multiple shapes around that circle that I'm drawing here, you can do the mathematics by simply dividing 360 by number of sides that you want. So if I want 6 sides, I would just divide 360 by 6, and then that would give me roughly 60 degrees, right? So 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 45 degrees, depending on how many petals I would want. So I just write, let's say 30 would give me, I think, 12 different petals. For now, let's just play around with just 60 degrees. I'm just going to hit copy now. This is the important step. After you pass the angle, you can check preview. You can see it goes there, right? And instead of doing OK, you would want to press copy. So when you do copy, what happens is it first creates a copy of this object and then rotates it. So I'm going to do copy. So as you can see, now I have 2 petals. Okay. Now, if you press Ctrl and D on the keyboard, which is Ctrl D for duplicate, it's going to duplicate the last action that we just performed. So if I just press Ctrl D a bunch of times, I'm quickly getting a flower-like shape, as you can see. Okay, and again, I could pass this as a basic logo design right here by changing the petal colors. And changing the colors is as simple. Select the object, go to your fill, pick a color. So that's it, right? Now this would be even more interesting if you had intersections. So I'm just going to do Control Z, and I'm going to pick a different angle so that the petals sort of overlap. So I'm going to do rotation tool again, same process, pressing Alt, dragging it over here, center. This time I'm going to pass 30. Now if I do 30 degrees rotation, clearly the shapes are going to overlap. So I'll do copy. As you can see, now it's overlapping. Press Ctrl D. Now I should get 12 total petals, and all of the petals are sort of overlapping, as you can see. Now switching back to Pathfinder, if you select all of these shapes, just doing click and drag to select them all, notice there are intersecting circles. There are lots of intersection. And the intersections can be manipulated by using the Pathfinder tool. If I were to select this divide option in the Pathfinder, every intersecting area would be converted into a standalone shape. So let me show you. If I just do this Pathfinder divide, if I click that, what has happened is all of these intersections has become an independent shape. So before I only had 12 shapes around it, but as soon as I did divide, there are lots more. To prove the point, if I were to double click here, you'll notice that each section is independently selectable, as you can see, right? So I could delete these shapes if I don't want. Backspace, maybe that one also, right? So I could very well say, okay, that's my logo design, and that looks a bit, in fact, far more complicated than what we had earlier, right? And again, if you notice, every one of these shapes are, well, selectable again. So let me delete that, let me delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that. Okay, so I think you can see It looks a bit more fascinating, considering how we can make very complex looking logo designs by simply creating basic shapes and using the concept of pathfinding. Now, because they are individual shapes, you can easily change the color. For example, green, you could select this one, okay, blue, uh, selecting that one again, and selecting uh, green again. Okay, so you could change the color, apply stroke, even move the objects around if you want. So that's another concept where you could make flat logo designs using nothing but basic shapes in Illustrator. If you want to build a shape of your own style, you can always use the paint tool to build a custom shape. Right? For example, if I just do that, yeah, this is just like in Photoshop. You can always build a path that is just random abstract shape. Okay, so this would help you create well two-dimensional flat shapes. Ultimately, you could also trace raster images into a vector shape very easily. Sometimes you may draw a sketch or something that you really like, and as long as the logo design is there, the sketch is there, you can convert raster image into a vector image also. I'll just show you a simple example of, let's see, silhouette of a animal. So let's pick silhouette of a parrot, and there are lots of parrot silhouettes, right? Now, clearly, because these are JPEG or PNG images, they might not be scalable. So if I zoom in, it will definitely pixelate. I'll just pick this one for instance. It's a very small image, 260 by 280. So it's definitely going to be pixelable. It's going to pixelate if I save it as a JPEG PNG. So just copy image from the browser. I'm coming back to Illustrator and then pasting it. So notice that the Shutterstock, this is a proprietary image. I hope you use this just for academic purpose. You cannot use this in a commercial way, provided it's a royalty image. But just for the sake of exercise, see, provided I have a shape. Now, you can already see this is pixelating. If I zoom in, you'll notice there is clear pixelation. Although I'm on Illustrator, this shape is still pixelating because it's not a shape, it's just an image. Now, because we're using Illustrator, we can very quickly convert this into a vector shape. Because it is an image, in the option panel, you will actually see the information. It says this is a image, as you can see here, right? Object type is image. There is a button here called image trace. Okay, you can select that button and find the number of colors you want to trace. This is a standard black and white photo, so I'll leave it as default and then I'll just see image trace. As soon as I click that, notice now it has been converted into a vector shape. If I double click here, you'll notice I have access to this particular shape. If I zoom in, the pixelation has gone, and that has now been converted into a vector shape. After that, you can now expand this. So when you select this image now, you'll go to the top. There's an option called expand. Click expand, and then now you'll be able to select just the path itself. Okay, so that's the path. Do Control X to cut it. Object is clean. Just going to select everything. Backspace. I've deleted that. Control V to paste, and just like that, we have a clean object that is of a shape of a parrot. Now see, if I want to add some text or make any editing like before, I could use the Pathfinder one more time. So if I just say let's add the letter P, I'll just add the letter P and make it a bit larger. Let's say that's the alphabet I want to incorporate here in this shape. I'm adding it. You can select both the shapes. Again, it's a good idea to expand your letter-based shapes to convert them into object-based shapes. So I'll go to Object, Expand. This P letter becomes a path now. Now that both of these are path, you can go here and select it. I'll use the same concept as before, multi-selecting both layer and then dividing it. Okay, so if I divide it, now the layers has been converted. So I can just select just the option that overlaps with the parrot, change the color to white, and as you can see, now that's looking like a logo design where the letter P is sort of blending with the parrot. You can change the color just like before. Select the particular shape, go to the fill, and just add any color. So that's parrot green. Let's change the letter shapes, and change that color to maybe navy blue. Okay, so just like that, I could consider that as a very basic design, right? Next part, let's see. Yeah, sorry. So you can add the text for more obvious All right, so just like that, let me increase the size. Okay, and maybe something like that. Okay, not a great example maybe, but I hope you got the concept that yeah, you can make logo designs by simply using the objects, the Pathfinder tool to have some basic manipulation, and then use the type tool to add in some text information. Now there is a lot more to logo design in Illustrator than this. There is gradient mesh, gradient overlay. You could actually add effects on this design. So you could select here. There is a whole menu for effects. So I'll leave this for you to explore. But for your course requirement, I think you can at least create a basic typographical logo design or a flat logo design using the available tools here. The key thing here is to remember to save this as a Adobe Illustrator file, save the source file, and then save it as a PDF or an SVG or an EPS file format. Okay, so you'll require to submit both of those files as part of your coursework. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you just follow this process, you should be able to complete this coursework. You can save it as a PNG if you want to use it in your mockup or template designs over there in Photoshop. You can scale it down, scale it up. If you save it as a SVG, you can directly integrate it into your HTML. Pretty much all the advantages that comes along with having a vector type image for using in your designs. Okay, so that's it for how to create basic logo design in Illustrator. Please note this is very basic beginner level. If you are interested, you can find lots of other tutorials which will walk you through following the golden ratio for making a logo design, how to create shadows and lighting effects in a Illustrator based environment using effects. So there are other you could explore this in more depth if you have the time and the desire. But if not, at least for your coursework, creating something similar to whatever as I just illustrated should be enough to qualify you or your work as a good vector-based image export successfully done. All right, wish you all the very best. I hope all of you will do quite good in your assessments. Thank you all.